jungle room, the vines hang deep. Breeze and raindrops as the emerald boa slither. Face to face they draw their guest in close. Their calm invites us to come hither. Every corner built for curious mind, a jungle playground, nature design. Build them homes, let instincts flow. Babies born, tiny lives begin to grow.
Greetings, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Well, it looks like Desiree Minot got hung up. So as excited as I am to talk to her all about how she started building rodent habitats in her garage to becoming the Whole Foods of the reptile world, I think we're going to have to hold out until she is able to make it. So I wanted to at least come on and say hello, and I can tell you guys some of the amazing things that are happening with us here in our jungle room. We did a little something today. I sent Chris some pictures of it, but we, as many of you know, here in our Happy Basins jungle room, we have been having a mating frenzy with a couple of northerns that we have. I have a mostly patternless northern emerald tree boa that my friend Jeremy from North Carolina sent us all the way here to Central Arkansas because he already impregnated every viable female northern emerald in his house. So Jeremy sent him here to spread his genes. And he has been a champion, I'll tell you. If you look at my social medias on Facebook or Instagram, I haven't posted it on YouTube yet, but the videos and the pictures of these two emeralds together are spectacular. And we definitely are expecting to get babies, probably in about 6 months or so. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. But we also have another couple that we haven't posted about yet. We've had them together for, I guess, about 8 or 9 days. Today's the 9th day. And they are a very special pair. The male of that pair is visiting from my friend Ron Rundo, who does snakescapes. A lot of you have heard of Ron Rundo. He does a lot of work for arboreal snakes. And his name is Agador. And Agador is the half brother of a very famous Ed Marino black emerald basin. Just a spectacular animal. If you even just Google Draco Ed Marino, this animal will come up. And so I have that animal's half brother right here in our jungle room, trying to mate him with a female from a black line of Steve Volk. So this would be 2 black lines that came from completely different parts of the country. So it's very rare to have such an opportunity to breed 2 such strong special lines, but they're not no line breeding in there. I'm sure somewhere generations back there would be a relation, but in this particular case, there's no close relation. And Agador is going on 6 years old and having a little bit of a hard time jump starting his mojo. So the reason I'm telling this story is to tell you this kind of crazy thing that we did today. It was our 3rd such session. But we took our aggressive breeders that we have here in our Happy Basins jungle room. We have 3 males who are very aggressive breeders, where they are aggressive toward other males. And also they are, very active in mating. So I took our aggressive male maters and put them in the rain chamber with Agador. And Ron Rundo was over here. And between the 2 of us, we managed 5 different males together in the rain chamber. And the testosterone was extremely apparent. And we kept a very close eye on them. We saw one of them was getting stressed and we took them out. And there was just some really good kind of bully interaction, but it definitely looked like the animals knew their hierarchy. And it was very interesting interaction, all 3 sessions. Today, especially because we went a little longer. And what we're doing with that is trying to kickstart Agador's mojo. So you guys can look forward to that. We're doing everything we can to get this snake rolling. And if for some reason Agador decides he doesn't want to mate, I do have another black line from Steve Volk from a different, they're 4 years apart and they do come from different grandparents, but still have the black line in their genetics. So if Agador doesn't work out, we have a backup, but Mommy Wada, the name of our female, is very receptive. She has been flaunting herself in front of Agador. So hopefully we get something rolling with that. We have a lot of other exciting things happening here in our jungle room. We do believe that we have a pregnant female named Gishsada. We don't quite know yet if she's pregnant, but we have a few signs that tell us that that's a good probability. And if in fact Ningishsada is not pregnant right now, at least we know 100% that she's a female because she did ovulate. That's very exciting. I would tell you guys lots more stuff. I was really kind of hoping that Desiree might still be able to come. She got tied up and wasn't sure if she was going to be able to make it. So there is always a little chance that she might still be here. And I have so many great questions for Desiree. She's got a fantastic business. For those of you who don't know about Cold Blooded Cafe is run by Desiree Minot, and she started this company in her garage raising rats and has now, like I said in the beginning, turned into the Whole Foods of the reptile world. And Desiree pays very careful attention to how her feeder rats are raised and fed and cared for, and the way that she preserves them to get them to us frozen. And she ships to individual households and takes care of huge orders. So she's really built a big, beautiful business with Cold Blooded Cafe. And if we don't get to talk to her tonight, then we will definitely make sure that we have her on here for you guys coming up in the near future. And Syzygy says that they love to see a female business owner. And yes, and one of the great things about progression of over the decades is that there are more and more female business owners, when there was a time we never even thought we would see such a day that women could run whole businesses like that. So it's becoming normal. Yay. Morelli said something and I missed it. I like to see your guys' interaction. Oh, I know what's going on here is that I have to click on comments. That's why I couldn't see anything. Very cool. Yes, Desiree's picture with the saltwater gator. That is really amazing. An albino, a white saltwater gator. That's just incredible. And yes, very lucky. You guys, what goes on here at Happy Basins, it was just in 2020. A lot of people started new hobbies in 2020, and we were some of those people. And we got our very first emerald tree boa. And I had learned so many conflicting things online between just reading articles, watching YouTube videos, and of course, in the Emerald Tree Boa forum and other groups on Facebook, there was just so much conflicting information. And Larry and I wondered, what's right? What's real? So Larry decided that he was going to send me to the Amazon rainforest, not him, because he doesn't like heat and humidity. So he sent me to the Amazon rainforest to go find out about their habitat. What are they eating? What kind of trees do they live in? Which we found that emeralds don't typically live in trees, they live in vine systems, which is how we designed everything here in our Happy Basins jungle room. Every of all my 11 trips to the Amazon rainforest, each time I brought back more and more ideas to recreate nature here in our jungle room. And after my first trip, I found the emerald tree boa in the wild, even after the group that I was with said that there were no emeralds there. And I went anyway because I just wanted to experience their habitat. And when the group was all looking for tarantulas, I was out a little bit as far away from them as I was allowed to be with my flashlight, looking up in all of the vines and just begging the universe to show me, not even begging, but I was saying, wow, pretending, manifesting that I found the emerald, and all of a sudden I did. And since then, I have traveled across 5 countries in emerald habitats. All the way, the countries that I've traveled through are Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Suriname, and Guyana. And I've been to all of those places multiple times. Because some trips, 3 of my trips, I was in the 3 frontiers where I was in Peru, Brazil, and Colombia all at once. So I get to say that I've been to those 3 countries, those 3 times, plus the other time I went to Peru and 6 times to Suriname. And when I go to Suriname, I also get to go to Guyana. So I have just had so much experience learning about these animals, not to mention my fabulous mentors and the people that, even the people who have ridiculed our methods that we're doing as far as holding the animals, providing them with too big of enclosures, all kinds of different things that people don't like that I'm doing. And those people expressing those things have also taught me a lot. And the main thing that I've learned from those folks is the importance of me getting the word out, what I believe, what I've experienced and seen, how to work with these animals in the wild and what their environment really looks like. And because of the things that they, say against what we're doing, helps me realize how to talk to new people coming into the hobby, because I know that they're going to also hear that conflicting information. And I just feel really grateful. This whole thing all came from, was it Morella's comment saying how lucky I've been? And yes, I have been so fortunate to get to learn and experience all of these things and get to be one of the voices for emerald tree boas, a real advocate for them being real animals. Yeah, Morelia says no such thing as too big of an enclosure. And I agree with that. It's important when we do have large enclosures to make sure, like I said, we have those vine systems, because those animals aren't just living in a tree on a branch. They're embedded and hanging on vines with multiple parts of their bodies resting on different branches. So when we keep these arboreals, the arboreals I personally work with in the wild are emerald tree boas and Amazon tree boas. But I can imagine that, Morelia, like your animals, your green tree pythons, would have the same scenario, that getting to wrap their tail around something real tiny makes them feel secure and confident and really makes them relax. And I believe that's why I'm able to handle these animals so nicely in the wild, because while I'm working with them, I'm always making sure they have something for their little tails to wrap around. And when we just provide them with a couple of perches that might be too smooth, we're not giving them the security they really need. So that's a great way to help your animals be happy. Your arboreals is giving them something small to wrap around. They really like that. And another reason people say the big enclosures is because it is difficult when you have a larger space to really keep your humidity, your heat, and your airflow, everything balanced. It's much easier in a small space. That's why a lot of people use tubs and, very small enclosures and drawers even. So when we have all of this going on, It does take more work, but man, it's worth it because that's when the animals' personalities come out. You guys know if you're on the Happy Basins watching Happy Basins anything, you're highly likely somebody who believes in interaction with your animals and creating a natural environment as much as possible. And these animals are very intelligent, they're inquisitive. They always seem to want to know what's going on. They don't really shy away. Maybe when they first come around, they might hide their heads sometimes, but these animals in my jungle room now, they bring their heads out to look and see what's going on. And I know a lot of you have animals the same way. Morelia has a gorgeous habitat set up for their green tree python. And it is extremely natural. Morelia, if I remember correctly, you have a water feature in there. And anybody else who has a habitat that you want to show off, send it to me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. I would positively just love to see those. It fills my heart with so much joy. Morelia is always sending me really nice pictures of rain and their animals. What? What a surprise! How are
Hi,
you?
hi, I'm here.
We're so happy to see you here. I
I'm
told
sorry
everybody
I'm
you got
late.
tied up and you may or may not be able to come on tonight, and here you are.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't be sorry. We're thrilled you're here. Thank you. Well, you guys, I promised you that if we didn't get to tonight, we would soon. And here we have Desiree Minot. Did I say your name right? Minot?
Minox.
Minot. Okay. I did Google it. In French, it was Minot.
Yes, it is pronounced that way there, but they
Desiree
pronounce it
Minot
differently.
from
Yes,
Cold Blooded Cafe. And
yes,
Desiree, I've been bragging on you. We were talking about your business, and I was telling everybody how you went from building rodent enclosures in your garage to becoming the Whole Foods of the reptile world. And we're
yes.
super excited to hear you tell us your story.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to. Um, so yeah, basically just goes back to being a teenager. Growing up in South Dakota, there was lots of reptiles to look for, different animals out in the woods, and so yeah, I did a lot of that kind of stuff growing up. And then Reptile Gardens is also in my town, so spent a lot of time there. And then I met my high school boyfriend, Forrest Fanning. So we were teenagers when we met and basically just went through life together. He was very into reptiles, a lot more than me. So that's kind of started like the whole, wanting to get into snakes and lizards and stuff like that very early on. And it got to the point where we couldn't really feed all these snakes. So we decided we're going to just breed our own rats. And we started doing that. I think that was like 2006 or 7 in a rental house garage. We were building rat racks and making our own feeders. And eventually we had too much stuff and started selling it. And then that kind of turned into a rodent business. And now we reside in Indiana. And that all was about 10, 15 years of working up to it. And this is my sole income. This is the only thing I do, the only thing I know. So yeah, it's been a long road, but I'm very happy to be here. And once we went to a retail side of things, that is where it really picked up, and we had to be like, really careful about what we're selling, what we're doing, what we're saying, where we're going. And yeah, social media is a very powerful thing. So
Do you think social media was the biggest railway into expanding as much as you did?
I think a lot of it had to do with that. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
'Cause we were pretty low key for a long time. We didn't really have, like I had a Wix website early on. It was just very basic. I think that actually went through RepTech for a long time. Like we didn't even have the Cold Blooded Cafe name until I would say it was like 2016, 2017 when we finally decided to go. Hold on a second. Can you close my door, sweetie? I'm in a meeting right now. Okay. I'll be out in a minute.
Thank you.
um, but anyway, so yeah, Cold Blooded Cafe came around pretty late, and then we started its own website, and that has picked up a lot. But the social media, like I kind of always had an account, a small account on Instagram. Forrest did not like doing any sort of social media, so he really didn't get into it until way later. And that's when he met Brian Barczyk, and then they kind of did a lot of collaborating, and he got pretty well known through that that avenue. But in more recent times, yes, I believe social media is very powerful for free marketing, and then it can also be very toxic too. So I try to just stay neutral with everyone and whatever's going on. But I do like using it for advertising. It's free most of the time unless you want to boost a post or something. But and then you can also make some money as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you went from when it started growing, first of all, I know when you guys were sitting around and you thought of the name Cold Blooded Cafe, it was probably very exciting because that's
It
an
was.
awesome name. Who
Yeah,
thought of it?
thank you. That was Forrest. Levi Cranston was working with us too, and so I think it was his wife Sarah, me and Forrest, and we're kind of just all chilling and collaborating and like throwing ideas around. And then he said that, and we were all like, "That's it, that's it." And then Levi drew the first original logo, so we had like the rat with the fork, and the logo and the circle. Yeah, and then we remarketed not too long ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, with Stewart Design, and tried to have a little bit more of a professional look. And so, everyone wanted that original logo to come back. So I've kind of brought that back and incorporated it, even though I was advised not to do that because I just spent all this time and money rebranding to get away from that. But it's kind of a staple logo for us, if you will. So
Yes, an icon.
yeah. So kind of brought it back a little bit, and it's really fun. But a lot of people want discreet packaging too when it comes to shipping feeders. So on our boxes we have our professional logo on there, so it doesn't look like a rat box per se.
Mhm. When you went from supplying people on your Instagram or your what was the little store you said you had? It wasn't Etsy.
Oh, it was through Wix.
Wix,
Yeah,
yes. When you
yeah,
had
I
your
just did
Wix
like a free
website
website.
and you were doing this small time and then you decided to start going commercial, I mean, that couldn't have been a quick thing.
No,
You
yeah,
need
we were.
licenses and all kinds of things that had to change, right?
Not necessarily. Like we started out as wholesale, so everything we did, we just pushed through one
Mm,
middleman and had like a monthly check, and we did that for a very long time. And then once I don't know, I honestly don't know why retail decided to happen. I think there was a big push for it because some of the wholesale guys didn't want to pay the prices we wanted, and then we realized, well, if we sell it to the general public, we can actually sell it for a lot more. But it's a lot more of an expense too. You have packaging it into smaller quantities now. Now you're taking on more orders, and now there's more packaging, and there's smaller box sizes now instead of just one big Gaylord box. That's how we would send wholesale. So it was, kind of a big step. The website got too overwhelming for Wix, so I couldn't really use it anymore.
wow.
So I have a company now that I, do all of the website through, and like I have a developer that I'll send an email and be like, help me with this or teach me some HTML code, just stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a slow progression. It felt like it went fast kind of at times, but looking back on it, it went from like having, 5 or 10 orders a week up to like 20. I remember our one week we had like 50, and we're just like, oh my goodness, like it was a huge week. Now we're sending 100 to 200 orders a week. So it did in that time, get way up there. So it's great. And
When
that'll ship out in 2 days. We usually get all our shipping done in 2 days. So we do about, I think when we figured it out, it's about 600 packages a month, a little bit more.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned packaging and you just talked about packages that go out and you have a recyclable
Hmm.
box. What can you tell
Yeah.
us about that?
Yep. So standard cardboard box. The inside is what we promote. So we use like some liners to protect it from getting, which is just plastic. You can recycle plastic, but the insert is a biodegradable product that you can just recycle. Yes. and
Because
then
that's one of the frustrating things about those getting those big boxes, and you just see all that material, all the
yeah,
foam and everything. So that's a real breath of fresh air.
yeah, yeah. We were pretty excited about that one when we finally got a hold of that.
What kind of facility do you have now? A big warehouse or?
Yeah, so we've always been in the same place. We've had 3 facilities throughout time, one in Florida and then 2 here. So it's a 5-acre farm. I got one big barn. It's about a what is it, 60 by 40 or something like that, and that's just all rat production. And then we have a mouse building. We have an ASF building, and then I have 4 reptile buildings on site too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys offer other things besides rats and mice.
Mhm.
What all is on your menu, on the cold-blooded cafe menu?
Yeah, so the African soft fur rats, of course. We have quail, we have chicks, we have different types of birds, size-wise. Pigs, rabbits. Sometimes we have some crawfish, some feeder geckos. Just kind of depends on who's got them. Like right
Lizards?
now, I've been trying to get feeder geckos for a while, but they're not in season yet. So once like it gets a little bit warmer now, I think now we'll be okay. But I have some herpers in Florida trying to collect stuff for us for feeders. But sometimes we'll have some quail eggs, things like that.
Do you outsource any of that stuff like the pigs and kangaroos? I'm just kidding. I know you didn't say
Yeah,
kangaroos.
yeah, no. We are only breeding the rats and the mice and the ASFs here. Everything else is sourced in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I read on your website, the Whole Foods of the reptile world, and we drive all the way to Little Rock, which is far away for us to go to Whole Foods. So that really meant something to me.
Yes. Yeah,
Can
that
you
was
tell
part of
us
the
what about that?
marketing. Yep. Yeah, that was the big part of the marketing is that we wanted to really stand apart from all the other companies. So we took the Whole Foods versus like a Walmart, kind of aspect. Like we wanted to be the freshest, the best, with our freezing process and the way we do our quality control. We wanted to say like we're the organic, we're the Whole Foods of the feeder company, just to stand out.
And does that make a difference, like what you're feeding your feeders?
I believe so. I can't speak for other rodent breeders, but we use a strict Missouri diet. So we've always had them on that. Dog food gets used, other types of rodent diet get used, but we've always tried to stay with the one diet. So, and then we do a lot of like bird seeds for our mice. We'll throw in some dead crickets sometimes from leftover cricket buckets for the lizards. So
Mhm.
I would say they get some enrichment. We'll throw
Yeah,
little toys in there sometimes for the mice, but yeah.
nice. And then you have a freshness guarantee with your flash freezing.
Yes.
What does that mean? Flash
Yes.
freezing.
So we flash freeze with dry ice. So as soon as the product is euthanized and sorted and counted and bagged up, then it gets froze between dry ice. So instead of taking, half the day or a day or longer to freeze in a freezer, it's getting frozen within 30 seconds to a minute and
Hmm.
then staying frozen until it ships in the walk-in freezer or chest freezers that we have.
And how do you euthanize them?
We use CO2 gas.
Gas.
Yep. They just go to sleep.
I'm raising hamsters that I feed to my animals. And everybody keeps telling me I need to start freezing them and I should get a CO2 chamber.
Oh, it's not that
Oh,
difficult. You don't need all that. But yeah, it's super simple. Like I use the dry ice for a lot of stuff. So you can actually use dry ice and pour water on it and it will make that gas. And if you have a way to like create your own chamber, that's what we do.
oh, just the gas from the dry ice just does it.
Alone. Yeah. Like
Oh.
if you had a cooler, you could put one side a bucket of ice and then you pour the water on it. And then as soon as it starts, and then you put the animal on the other side, close the lid, come back in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
that.
I need to do something because I have such a big overflow bucket right now of them that I'm just going to give everybody a treat because if I knew that, which I could still do it, that sounds super easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Very
Yep.
nice. And the sustaining all of this to keep supplying, because you supply the little guy and the big guys,
Yeah,
the
and the zoos
individual
and
house order all the
the
way to
sanctuaries
huge.
and donations. Yeah, and then I have a whole like sponsorship program with different social media creators. So it's my head spins.
And I've
From
seen you all around the
all,
country. On
yeah,
top of all this, you're traveling to all the expos. I think I've
yeah,
probably seen
I
you 6 different places.
yes, yeah, I love being at the expos. That's kind of my, family time, friend time to see these people because I don't really have local friends. I maybe have 3 or 4 people that I consider my friends, but most of my friends are in the reptile community, and that's when I see them, at these shows. So it's really important to me to be there, and then of course to promote the business and supply feeders because we have a lot of people that will just strictly come to those shows a couple times a year and stock up. So they're expecting us.
Yes, and that it really is. Those groups are such a family. I just love going to the expos and hanging out with everybody and just seeing the family atmosphere. It's
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah, and my kid growing up in it and bringing him to the shows, and everyone's just like, "Oh yeah, he's getting bigger, he's getting taller every time they see him." It's just like a whole new kid. So it's been great. It's a good family feeling. I really do like most everybody in this community.
Yes, it's you can't always like everybody. Everybody can't always like you. And
Yep.
ta-da. Everybody has some stuff to say about this person or that person, and it's just the way it is with any family.
I feel like you never outgrow it. Like I'm always feeling like I'm still in high school, and I'm just like, I don't think it goes away. I think it's just,
It's
is what it
true.
is. So
Well, I also read on your website about your conservation work with Terry
Mhm.
Cullen at the Dragonwood Wildlife
Conservancy.
Conservancy.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us about
So
that?
I can. Forrest
And
and I,
real quick, before you go on, before you got here today, everybody was talking about your gator picture and how cool it is you get to work with
thank you.
these
Thank you.
animals. So they're
Yeah.
excited to hear this.
Yeah, that photo is actually from the Reptarium. That's Salt. That's one of their animals. But I do have 16 crocodiles here in Indiana. But okay, so the Conservancy, that was 2011 when we first met Terry. We were living in Eustis, Florida. So Forrest and I basically met him through mutual friends. And then we started coming to his facility and seeing all the crocodiles there and all the different, he's got a lot of rhino iguanas, tortoises, different pythons, different boas, obscure stuff, like a lot of locality stuff. He's not really big into morphs. He laughs at the morph worlds of ball pythons and boas usually mostly. So that anyway, so Forrest became the vice president of that entity for a long time for that nonprofit. So when he passed away, Terry basically kind of just like put me in that role, asked if I wanted to do that under his honor and stuff like that. So I am currently the vice president of that conservation. And what I do here, so I'm a satellite facility for them. So basically, I raise baby crocodiles. So we'll drive up a bunch of animals from Florida. I raise them until they're 5, 6 feet, and they're getting ready to go back into breeding, and then we'll kind of just like swap them out. So all the crocodiles that come to the expos under Dragonwood, those are actually animals that are here that I'm caring for and then bringing to the shows, transporting them so that like they're in my care and sleeping in my hotel room and, being loud all night. But no, they're great.
Everybody wants to be that. Everybody wants a loud crocodile in their hotel room all night
I got
long, don't you
6 of
guys?
'em. 6. I bring 6. Yeah, 6 little babies. Usually a Cuban. We'll bring the cataphractus, we'll bring the broad snout, one of the dwarfs. Who else comes? A Siamese, morelets. I think that's the list. So yeah, right now I have about 16 crocodiles that are here that are all still under 5 feet. And so in Indiana, that's also the other reason is because here you can have crocodiles, But once they hit 5 feet, then you got to go through DNR and go through processing to get permits to keep large crocodilian. So that's where we kind of like avoid doing all that. Like I have a one building right now that's set up for a large alligator that we had a rescue alligator in there for a while because DNR had to confiscate a neglected alligator who was like 8 feet, and
Mm.
they knew that I had them. And I'm also, I have venomous stuff too, so I have a lot of permits with them already on that end. So we were the go-to, and we went and picked this thing up and rehabbed it, got it back to health, and then I took it down to the swamps in Florida. Not too
Wow,
right
how
before Animal Con.
amazing.
Yeah, that was before last Animal Con.
Do you ever go visit her?
I haven't since he's been down there. We called it Bojangles. I don't know if it was a girl or boy, but I know the animal's still alive and well and doing good, but I have not got to go visit it yet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I bet that was a very satisfying to get to take that animal back
It was
to.
neat. It was really cool. And the really crazy part was when we were driving it, it was bellowing in the vehicle. We were stopped at a Taco Bell, and I had no idea like what was going on there. And we realized like that this alligator was bellowing. It was just like vibrating and being so loud. It was pretty wild.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that just for the first time. My girlfriend sent me a YouTube video of it, and it like vibrated inside my body just listening to it through the speakers on the computer. It was
Well,
incredible.
yeah, I was like, is there somebody behind us playing a bass in their vehicle? Like, we both could not figure out like what we were hearing, and then
Can we hear
realized,
your best replication of it? Since you've heard it so much, you probably have it in there.
oh no, I've never been asked to do this. It's like I can't. It's like and then
Yes.
something like that.
Yes,
I
that
can do that.
sounded like it.
I
The
definitely
human version, but I heard it in there.
I can do the baby calls a lot better than that.
Let's hear that one.
It's like, mm, 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 mommy. And that's what it sounds like. Little higher pitched.
I have heard that in nature. My girlfriend, we were out alligator because we have the great giant American alligator here in Arkansas, and we were out looking for him. That was her field of study for her wildlife biology degree, was the
Yeah.
American alligator. So she took me out there, and she kept making that noise to the adults to get them to look at us for photos. And then we were walked way back in, and I was looking around. I was like, Allison, that's that noise you were making. It sounds just like what you just did. And lo and behold, there we found 3 nests, all the babies in one big swamp area.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun during the time, but when I went back and looked at the footage, I felt so scared for us watching scared for her. I didn't do the things she did, but she has a lot of experience, so I guess she took more risks. Well, one of the big things, another thing that people were talking about here is being a woman before you came up. They're like, I love to see women owning businesses, and you don't just have a small business. You have such a big business. How many employees do you have?
Currently there's 11 of us, if you count me. So
Oh, I was thinking a lot more because you personally take so many roles on.
yes. Yes, that is making my husband thinking about it right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I think the most we've ever really had on payroll was like, I think I had up to 15 at one time. But it's such a high turnover, and I finally got it to stop turning over. So the team I have now is probably the best I've had in a long, long time. So done a lot of housekeeping, a lot of change of things, and the guys we got in here now are outstanding. So in a perfect world, we need like 4 to 5 full-time rodent handlers or animal caretakers. So that's stable right now. And then our shipping and like, product inventory type stuff, usually 2 people manage all that. And then on shipping days, we have like 3 people running the shipping team. So yeah, it doesn't require a whole lot, but with expansion and the different things happening currently with importing, and we're seeing an influx of customers because a lot of these import companies are not getting their stuff, so they're reaching out to other places, and I know that it's only going to increase. So I've already started making, plans to expand and have more breeding, and yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
And your 5-acre rodent farm is in Florida, you said, or you have two?
No, this one's in Indiana. So our breeding originally started in Las Vegas, Reno, Nevada, Las Vegas area. That's kind of where we started doing that. And then when we went back to Florida is when we had a farm. Like we had an actual farm out there too. And that was what, 2010 or so, right before we met Terry. And then, sorry, I just got a text and it threw my train of thought off.
That's okay. You can look at it if you need to.
It's okay. I saw it on my watch. That's why it distracted me. But yeah, hold on a second. Hey, will you close my door? Too much going on at the house. Let's see. So Reno. Okay, yeah. So the Florida breeding, that was all the original start. So that's where we kind of like started it really hardcore. And then the weather is just not good for breeding down there. And Indiana is centrally located, and part of the conservancy is up here. So that's kind of why we ended up here.
And that you can have the alligators, because you can't have those everywhere.
No,
In Arkansas, you can't have them at all. And you have venomous, you said. Do you you sell venomous animals?
No, I've never sold any. It started with some Gila monsters back with Forrest. We had a couple of those. And then we had some beaded lizards, and I still currently have the pair of Alvarezzi. Just got some other new little Hortum babies as well. So pretty excited about that. And then,
and those are just your personal hobby animals?
Yeah. So, I have a few different rattlesnakes right now. I have, what else do I have for venomous? Some Mangshangs, which are for sale. So hit me up.
What are they?
Mangshang vipers. I've some adults of those that I'm looking to sell. Blacktail rattlesnakes, mostly the like smaller clobber eye stuff. Like I didn't want to get too crazy with some of this other hot stuff. So
do you put those on your Instagram?
Sometimes I put them on my story. The posting for me is really difficult. I have to like set timers and like actually sit down and do it. But somebody said, how much are they talking about the Mangs?
Yes, what you just gave a shout out for.
Okay, so I want to make sure. I told someone already, but
Morelia, can you type that onto the chat so that I can see how it's spelled and I could Google it, because I don't know what that animal is.
They can message me too.
Yeah, just send Desiree a message. You know, my name was almost going to be Desiree, but they changed it at the last minute.
Oh,
I'm from Tucson, and my
mom, I love Tucson.
And I lived in Rapid City too
for
a while.
God, that's where I was
went
born.
to the Sturgis 51st bike rally.
Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
1 second.
A Mangzan viper. Let me see what that looks like. Mangsan viper. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. Those green vipers like that with all the texture.
Yeah, there's something
Love.
else.
Could we get a viper? Those are beautiful. So how much is something like that? Or you didn't find that yet? Are they thousands or hundreds?
Yeah, I spent a couple $1,000 on the babies.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that go?
That's awesome.
I lost it.
Well,
Yeah,
I just asked
they
you a
can
couple.
definitely message me about it for sure.
Yes, definitely. Should they message you at Desiree Manat or at Cold Blooded Cafe?
I would message me on Instagram, yeah.
Instagram.
And this Monitors account, that's the one I'm on most of the time. I'm managing all the social media right now, so sorry if I'm delayed or don't get back to someone. I try.
Yeah, for that particular question, you're going to have to do a nice cut and paste, something you can keep switching back to someone else's text and paste, cut and paste.
Yeah. Yes.
I know how that is. Well, you have made such a name with feeders in the reptile community. It's just unbelievable. And what would you think something that you contributed to all of this that was missing? I know the Whole Foods thing, that is a great slogan. And I've heard people talk about you. When I talk about, well, I, want my emeralds to eat, like the hamsters, I'm doing the hamsters, and people will say, well, Cold Blooded Cafe, they really take a lot of care in what they feed their animals and how they ship them and do everything. So, what do you think is missing with a lot of the other companies?
Um, well, something that we always liked to promote is like we have reptiles here. So RepTech is a whole nother business for breeding and selling reptiles. And I keep all of that stuff on that same property. So I'm going into my barn, grabbing what I need and bringing it over to feed my own stuff. Or at the end of the day, when they're killing things off and processing, like I'll go grab some stuff that they've just killed. And so for me, knowing what I'm feeding them, knowing how they're being cared for, knowing that they're having the best quality of life right before they're being fed to something else, that means a lot to me. We don't play loud music. We don't have any arguments around the rodents. Like they're sensitive. They're so sensitive. And we play with some of them are pets. Like there's a rack that has a couple of fancy, cute ones in there, and the employees will like have them up on their shoulder, and those don't get killed. They don't go through rotation. Like we want to have that environment too, where it's like they're having a great quality of life all the way through. So that is like something huge for me is like I can prove to you guys that what I'm producing and making and processing, I'm feeding it to my stuff. So if you trust that doing it for my own animals, I would hope that they would see that too. So being able to cross promote and cross post things like RepTech animals are eating Cold Blood Cafe, because that's kind of how I've structured it now is RepTech is sponsored by Cold Blooded Cafe's feeders. And then since it's on the same property, it just goes hand in hand. And again, like the diets that we use, the different enrichment stuff that we do for the rodents, like it's all very mom and pop. We're not okay. So I don't like to use names, but a lot of the rodent companies are not breeding themselves. They're buying and importing and reselling. And there's not a lot of like large scale rodent production facilities going on. They're popping up, but they don't last. They don't stay because this is one of the hardest things to do, and no one wants to do it. No one wants to clean poop all day. So it's a tough one. And like I said earlier, I'm really thankful to have the team that I have right now in the barn, because I'm also allergic to it. So I don't get to go in there and take care of anything. Close the door for me. Okay, I'll see
And
you.
another thing, when you were saying that too, is how you get to go in and get what you need fresh and take it over to feed to your animals. But we get it fresh too because of the way you flash freeze it.
Yeah, the way we euthanize and then get it frozen, and so it stays that way, and it's shipped to dry ice too. Yeah, and I mean, there's times where I need to just go pull it out of the freezer too, and I'll go thaw stuff out. Like they're done killing today. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to mess with anything. So, I've no problem thawing rodents in either. But sometimes it's just a lot easier for me to send a text and be like, okay, I got a list. I'll give the list to them, and they'll pull all my feeders, and I'll just come in, grab my little feeder bucket, and go do what I got to
So
do.
in 2024, this is if you guys are listening to everything that Desiree does, between the alligators and taking care of the venomous and getting the feeders, all of that stuff. In 2024 alone, I traveled to 6 different states, 6 different cities to these expos, and you were at every one of those. And that I just went to 6. How many would you say you go to a year?
I don't know.
Mhm.
I
More
mean,
than 6.
2 Tinleys, usually 2 Texas, sometimes the super shows, the Schomburgs, the St. Louis. I mean, it's
Florida.
probably yeah, the Florida ones, now the Atlanta one. I think we're at least at 10 plus.
Mhm.
And then I also do my own personal traveling too. So, which I never got to do that in the beginning. Like, I don't want to say he was a selfish man, but Forrest did leave me at the facility to take care of everything, and he was never about us being business owners. He would never let us travel together, like out of the country. So I didn't go out of the country and do a lot of those big herping trips because he was too afraid to leave the farm unattended. Even though we had employees, but so that kind of pissed me off because I didn't get to go to the shows. I didn't get to go to Africa and Indonesia and Papua New Guinea and all these places. So, I think a part of my healing and a part of my like losing him was and not wanting to really deal with it was to travel. I kind of found myself running or escaping and just like not wanting to really realize or, you know, sit with that. So I think I had a little like anxiety. What do they call that? Like compensating for something, but
Mhm.
just traveled, just like got busy in the traveling and going to South America and doing the Peru trips with my friends and herping, and that was incredible. And then
And now that's just who you are. You probably can't even imagine being the girl
I
stuck back
know,
cleaning rat
yeah,
poop.
I would never do that again. Yeah. So I basically just told, the staff like I'll be the face of this side of it. Everyone has their roles, everyone does their thing. So I really don't even do sales. I'll get messages and I'll forward them to my sales guy. So anyone can message me. I don't mind. But you know, right now I just do payroll, sign checks for other things, and communicate with the CPA. Um, but
Well, we
I
are
mean,
so
I'm not
proud
saying
of
just
you.
doing that, but obviously I have to oversee absolutely everything. Be
You're a
a
business
mom.
owner, and
Yeah,
it's not a small
yeah.
business. You're a large business. You're a big business owner.
It's crazy to think about sometimes. You
Mhm.
look at
You did
numbers
all that.
and you're just like, holy shit. Like, yeah, I'm a millionaire. To say that is really weird. Thank you.
Well, if you had somebody else up and coming in any business, specifically in the reptile world, no matter if it's building habitats, trying to provide feeders like you do, or raising different types of animals, what do you think, if you can think of off the top of your head, a couple of the challenges that were the hardest?
Yeah. So I like to compare this business to like a clothing store. Um, you can be late. Your clothes aren't going to die. They're not going to go bad. Um, there's a lot more leeway with just running something like that. And if you're going to do a business in the animal world, you need a strong heart, you need a strong gut, and it just takes a lot more out of you emotionally. I remember when my reptiles would die, like in the very, very, very beginning, early on, when I'd lose an animal, that it was detrimental. It's like losing a dog. The attachment is definitely there. It's gotten a lot better over time. But I would say, if this is really what you want to do, you have to be able to like separate the connections you're getting with these animals. Because if something does happen and, you do lose them, it might take you out emotionally and you don't want to work. You don't want to do this anymore. So I would say being able to be strong enough in that aspect. And like I said, like it's 24/7. I don't have a day off. I try to, but I get called on these vacations. I literally had to put fires out the last 2 weeks when I was trying to be on a family trip, but you're always on call. Um, like I said, animals, they have to be cared for every day, multiple times a day. We have a whole process. We have a Monday through Friday team, and then we have a weekend team. They don't have holidays. Like you don't get a day off for whatever at a rat farm. You just don't. We take turns having days off. We have a PTO system, but like it's a serious commitment and it takes everything out of you. Like I don't want to go clean 100 reptiles tomorrow that, I've had people just kind of overseeing for the past few days and only doing minimal stuff. And I'm going to get there and it's going to be a lot. And it's going to be the next, 3 days for me catching up. So you can't be gone a lot. Like you really have to lock in and realize like it's not just selling t-shirts. We're taking care of live animals and their lives matter just as much as ours. And you can't be neglectful and you can't just like, oh, I'm just tired today, I'll just get to it tomorrow. Like, no, you have to do it. Like they rely on you. And then if you're trying to sell them, that's even more of a reason to be present and do what you got to do. I've never really been a big reptile like business or however you want to say that. Thanks. But that kind of just comes as the like side hobby. That's what got us into it. But my bread and butter is the rodents, so I have to put most of that energy into that business. But the reptile side of it, at this point for me, it's therapy. I've gotten exactly what I want in my collection. I've had no one dictate it. I've had no one take it from me or try to change it or, whatever. I got what I got now and I like it and it's manageable and I can get through it in a week and have it set up to be okay for a 2-week vacation and have enough good people behind me to, make sure nothing's losing, not getting watered or whatnot. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes.
Kind of a runaround, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be in a live animal business, you better be dedicated and ready to work hard because it's not easy.
You can't drop the ball because if you drop the ball, you could lose everything.
Yes.
So it's not like designing a shirt or getting a shipment of shirts from somewhere that came in late. Like you said, it all has to be on time and right now and done correctly.
Yep.
Fabulous. Desiree, we are so grateful that you took the time out to sit with us today and teach us all about Cold-Blooded Cafe. I'm really excited and I am definitely switching over. My husband and I, after I was reading your website, because although I've met you many times, I never dug into your business. And I just used the same provider from my mentor in Colorado who, helps me gather this huge collection of emeralds. And we just have, after reading all of the stuff so that I could ask you these questions tonight, like we were both literally in tears. Like, oh my God, this is what we want. Because even though I raise the hamsters, most of these snakes are big. The hamsters are for the babies and the yearlings. I can't feed hamsters to these guys. So we are really looking forward to running out of what we have right now.
Perfect. Yes, hit me up. Yeah, we'll have to do some kind of collab thing. I've been trying to get Dave for a long time, so hopefully now we'll get it.
Thank you so much, Desiree.
I'm so sorry I was late. I literally got home at 7 and then I got a message and I was like, ooh, yes, I'm supposed to be doing something right now.
Well, I took the opportunity to share all kinds of exciting things going on in here. So it worked out fine for me.
I'm glad that it worked out that way. I was hoping.
Yes. Thank you, Desiree. We super appreciate you coming.
No worries. Yeah.
And thank you, everybody else.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
All right. Night, Amy.
Chris might be, there he is. Well,
under neon lights so cold they hum, shadows of scales where whispers come, a world of emeralds and tales untold, chasing the warmth in a world so cold.